How old are you?
18. An adult. But a young adult.
This is what I'm referring to as a young gun.
I just caught the biggest fish I've ever seen in my life, dude.
Because I just got me a biggin.
I set the hook with the skinny little arms that I had at the time. Still have them, but they were even skinnier. Well, this thing pulled me in the lake.
Come on,
Pulled me in the
man.
pond. Taking a blind guy fishing is a very interesting deal. Let's not lie, there's driving a bass boat 70 miles an hour down the lake in the morning and blast off is a lot cooler than walking out of a dugout.
Now tell me about Becky.
There's a hashtag that went around. There was a friend of mine had a girl. Her name was indeed Becky. She was a bit on the larger side, but that's what we called big bass. You sit there and say, "Hey, it's Becky. We got Becky on the line."
Cheers, everybody. Welcome back to my channel here on YouTube. Oliver and I got a special guest for you, Mr. Caz Anderson.
What's up, y'all?
Welcome to another episode of the BBD podcast. So as you guys know, I am a big fan of angler to angler conversations and interactions. And the very first time I met this man, he comes over this big bay that I'm fishing with Jeremy Pratt. He's like, "Hey man, you guys got a scale?"
Y'all have a good scale?
Yeah.
I just caught the biggest fish I've ever seen in my life, dude.
Because I just got me a biggin. Yeah. Is biggin the correct term?
Yeah, that's right. Big and giant. I don't know. Whatever you want to call it. It was huge.
So I'm pretty sure I've got some GoPro footage of that monster fish.
Cow, dude, that's gotta be a double digit.
Big, it's giant.
I was gonna go. Oh my god, dude.
It's pretty good.
Hey, I don't know. Okay, wait till, do we need to wet, make it wet? Ooh, we're scared.
Yeah, I figured as much.
Holy 11-7.
Dude.
Hey, congratulations,
Thanks,
buddy.
dude.
But man, Kaz pulls this giant-headed new PB
That's right.
of a Georgia largemouth.
Yeah.
And I got the honor to weigh it for him on the Brecknail scale. And what did that thing settle in at? 11?
11-7.
11.7.
Previous PB was 10 even, so shattered it by like a pound and a half. And once they get that big, I don't catch a whole lot of big bass. So like once they get that big, it was like they all looked the same, and I had no idea that it was that big. Shocked me, but it was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, man. Well, congratulations
Thanks,
on the PB. I'm glad I got to be a part of that experience in
Yeah.
a little way, shape, or form.
Mr. Big Bass.
But yeah, it was rad. So that was the very first time I ran into Kaz several weeks ago. And since then, I didn't actually realize at the time that I probably ran into you down at the Harris chain as well, right?
Yeah.
So Kaz is fishing the Bassmaster Opens Southern Division.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Fishing them as a boater. I actually fished him for a couple years prior as a co-angler. I fished him for 2 years, and I had a traveling partner. His name was Mark Frazier, and he actually qualified for the Elite Series last year.
Wow, congratulations, man.
So we decided to move up as a boater and take what we've learned from our past experiences and hopefully progress as an angler in the future and just move up to the front of the boat. So it's a journey and a process. So
It is. And this is where I'm tripping out, right? Because you've got a lot of experience under your belt already at a pretty high level. And you're talking about guiding a bunch. You're talking about traveling throughout the country, competing at a high level. And I'm like, oh, okay, this kid must be like, I don't know, 20, 21 years old. Because I know you fish the college stuff. How old are you?
18. An adult. But a young adult.
This is what I'm referring to as a young gun. And it's dope to see, man. It reminds me of when me and my squad were like that 17, 18, 19 years old.
Yeah.
I'm pumped for you. You have the whole world at your fingertips. And the fact that you're competing against the same field that I am in these opens is pretty mind-blowing to me, man. Kudos to you for having the balls to do it.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
It's not, and it's a learning curve for sure, because you realize truly how talented that field of anglers is whenever you get out there and start competing against them and they dissect a body of water so fast, and that's what's cool about bass fishing is everybody has their own little skill set that they bring, and each one of them works at a certain time.
For sure.
But it's just noting when it's your time, really, and really just taking the pieces of the puzzle and adding them together. It's hard to explain, but fishing is a very complex deal. But you just do your own thing and kind of blaze your own trail, as your phrase is.
That's right. Oh, as you see, it's a little windy.
It is a little windy. We're dealing with some wind, but I don't know. That's the deal with the opens. We're just learning as we go, and everybody always tells me if you ever stop learning when you're bass fishing this one, you just need to hang it up. No matter how old you are, you need to hang it up.
This is always going to be like a player style podcast, because as an angler, I have questions for you that like a journalist wouldn't ask.
Yep.
So this is a treat for me because I don't know anybody in your age bracket that's swinging.
Yeah.
Like, what's your goal? Like, what do you want to do through the opens?
My goal is to qualify for the Elite Series.
Tell me about the one time where a fish just straight busted your ass.
This is actually a funny story. It was one of the first big fish I've ever caught. I was actually fishing a pond. This is back when I was probably 6 or 7 years old, long time ago. Long time ago, yeah. So I remember it throwing a wacky rigged trick worm. Back then, I didn't know what a Cinco was. I didn't know what a wacky rigged hook was. I would just take the regular hook that I would throw on my Texas rig and just hook a trick worm right through the middle of it. Well, I casted that thing out in the middle of that pond and seen a fish cruising on the surface. And I thought that was the weirdest thing because I'd never seen a bass cruise along the surface. And it just looked huge. I didn't even know if it was a bass. I thought it was a carp. That thing swam over to my bait, plain as day. I'll never forget it. And I was just kind of in shock, sitting there just looking at watching it. I was like, is this thing really about to eat my bait? And it just sucked it right in. I set the hook with the skinny little arms that I had at the time. Still have them, but they were even skinnier. Well, this thing pulled me in the lake.
Come on,
pulled me
man.
in the pond.
Come on,
Swear.
man.
I hooked it and was tripping out. Comes off. Never saw it. Went in the lake. And
Damn.
Yeah, so I left with a wet hind end and a broken line. So I could have had that. So if I could go back in time right now, I'd probably have me a pretty legit setup. You know, a nice little braid to leader knot tied on it, and stronger legs to not let a huge
drop
bass
that center of gravity down at the floor.
Not have a huge bass pull me in the pond. So yeah, we moved past that standpoint. But if there was one cast I need to have back, that'd probably be it.
That is a great story, man. I wish I had stories going back that young. I didn't start fishing until I was 10.
Yeah. My dad took me since as long as I can remember. I owe everything to my dad. He took me since I was 2 years old. I can remember. I fished my first tournament when I was 8 years old. Captained me in all my high school tournaments, and me and him still fish every week together all the time. We just always share that same passion. I owe a lot to my dad for introducing me to a sport at a really young age.
Man, big ups to your dad.
Yeah, man.
That's cool.
Yep.
I'm curious. You mentioned your dad. Now, it could be him. It could be a celebrity. Early on, who would you say really influenced Kaz Anderson's fishing style as I've seen it now?
The fishing style, I don't know, that's hard to say. I've always been a huge, I've always watched Kevin Van Dam whenever I would grow up and watch Bassmaster every week. I watched all kinds of people, but I always watched Kevin Van Dam. And my dad was always a huge KBD fan. We would always watch him and take note of what he does. When it came to, Kevin Van Dam burning the spinnerbait on those flats up north for smallmouth, and he would catch the crap out of them on a spinnerbait, just burning it. And we took that down here, and believe it or not, the spotted bass out here on Lake Chattooga, the faster you reel out the spinnerbait at a certain time of year, they'll cream it just the same. So that, I had some faith in KVD.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, they influence your fishing styles. You watch people and take notes from different people as you go along, but probably one of the biggest, I've watched Kevin Van Dam a lot. He was my favorite whenever I was really young watching him.
That's cool to hear, man.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Kevin. I've had the pleasure of fishing with him on Table Rock.
That's awesome.
And seeing that man operate, like,
He's a
in
machine.
real life, he's a literal machine.
He's a machine.
Like,
Nothing phases him either.
No,
Lose a
man.
fish, straight back to casting.
And that's what he was doing. We were on a topwater bite, and, a couple of those fish would just come off.
It's a mental game too, being able to stay in it mentally. whether you're in a tournament or just out there fun fishing, if you lose a 10-pounder, I don't care if you're in a tournament or not, it's mentally grinding on you. Easy to get down on yourself. So having a strong mental state, that makes a huge difference.
For sure. Now, that's a good segue into my next question. And we touched on the fact that you are doing some guiding.
Yeah, right.
Right? You've got to share with us some of your guiding experiences.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like you've got some interesting stories.
Yeah. Definitely some interesting ones. And whenever you started at such an early age, I'm not taking out people that are younger than I am. I'm taking out full-grown people that whenever I'm 16 years old, just able to drive my truck to the ramp. I've still got my learner's permit, driving my boat to the ramp in the morning and driving a fully rigged bass boat down the lake at 16 years old. A lot of people are like, man, this kid's going to kill us in the morning. Yeah. So my first ever experience guiding, I actually took a gentleman out and he was blind. So
like partially blind, blind in one eye, like nearsighted, or couldn't see light.
He could see light. The way he described it to me, it was like looking backwards through a gun barrel or through a scope. So he's seen things that were really close. He's seen them as they were 2 miles away. He could barely see, and that made it really tough on him, casting wise.
How were you guys fishing that day?
Well, like I said, it was my first guiding experience, so we started out casting at targets along the bank. And target fishing, whenever you can't see, is not. If you're a guide out there, do not take people to fish docks whenever they can't see.
I tried taking people target fishing that can see perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And it's been a monumental struggle.
Yeah, it would have been a Christmas miracle because he's not going to notice a follower chasing his bait out from under a dock. This is totally relying on my coaching. And at the time, my first guide trip ever, I was lacking on that pretty good. So we went out to some points and caught some fish, but taking a blind guy fishing is a very interesting deal. It was a privilege, I will say. Like, you understand like how fortunate we are, obviously, to have all of our senses and things like that.
Right.
But everything's important when it comes to fishing. You
Everything.
literally use
all of it.
You literally use so many physical attributes of your body.
Yep.
Combines into being able to cast, being able to think,
Yeah.
and what to do in the heat of the moment whenever that big fish is chasing your bait. You have to stay really sharp-minded and be ready for that moment. They could potentially change your life,
I try my best to keep my head on a swivel.
Yep.
Right, to see
Yep.
things that a lot of people miss when I'm fishing.
Right.
I try not to play music
Yep.
on the boat anymore. So when people fish with me and they got like a headphone in or something, I'm
Yeah.
like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
you're missing big pieces of the puzzle. here.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you need all of it, man. So
Yeah. That's very
it's-
true.
kudos to you for getting through that. And it sounded like you guys caught some fish.
We did. We caught some fish. It ended up being a good day, and it was pretty inspirational to me to see a blind man catch fish. I was like, man, this is truly awesome. And it made me feel good to be able to put him on fish and him have a great time. That's the thing about guiding. I didn't realize how much catching a fish could mean to some people.
For sure.
And especially whenever I get a younger kid out there that's eager to learn and soaking it in every moment of it, and watching him get a huge fish come up and blow up on his topwater bait. That's worth it all for me. We're watching those people catch those fish and just landing a big one and taking a picture with it, and that makes it worth the trip right there. Even if they only catch one fish, that can light a fire in them like that. I've had people come from Texas to fish with me and spend 3 days fishing, and that boy, I still talk to him every day. His name's Wyatt, if he watches the podcast. Hey, Wyatt. But anyways, that young man right there was probably my favorite trip I've ever had.
Wow.
And he fished daylight to dark every day, him and his dad, and we caught so many. Just setting goals, taking, whether his goals might be, he'd only caught 10 bass in his life coming into this trip. So we're like, all right, by the end of the day, you're going to have 30 bass under your belt. So we would, we'd meet that goal, and then we'd set up his personal best. And, we'd go on and on and on and meet a bunch of goals throughout the week and learn as we go and just have fun catching fish. And that's a cool experience for me.
That's a fantastic point, because early in my fishing, a lot of it was goal-based.
Right, yeah.
Just like you're saying, and they were often small achievements.
Right, yeah.
And just continually finding ways to challenge ourselves
Yep.
and succeed and be able to take that experience and try to duplicate it or
Yeah.
improve on it.
Absolutely.
That's one of the beautiful things about our sport.
No, for
That's
sure.
cool. And like you said, I didn't realize how powerful enabling somebody else
Absolutely.
to achieve those goals could be, man. So
Yeah.
good on you.
Yeah, it makes you. It definitely kind of makes you feel good at the end of the day and know that you've made an impact in somebody else's life doing what you love to do. That's pretty special. It's definitely a special gig for sure.
That's cool, man. You into anything else that you passionate about, like other sports or?
I played baseball, played
Okay.
golf, all that stuff, and I quit it at an early age to fish. As soon as I got into high school and high school fishing became a thing.
Man, see, I'm a little salty
Yeah.
because there was no such thing as high
I
school
know
fishing.
it. I know it.
When I was in high
Yeah.
school, there was no such thing as collegiate fishing.
Yep.
But I'm super pumped for the current generation and beyond that is an opportunity.
Oh yeah.
So
And it's growing too. So
absolutely.
fast. So fast.
yeah, man, it's really interesting to watch because on the West Coast we just don't have the numbers of participation
Right.
to support anything like that. I think the closest thing we had was Cal State and Long Beach had a fishing team, which a couple
Yeah.
of my buddies were on.
Yeah.
And to us, I was like, no kidding, you guys actually got a fishing team together?
Yeah.
Like, cool, man.
That's
But
legit.
it's definitely opening up opportunities and doors for young guns. You got a horror story guiding that you want to share with us at all?
Yes, I actually do. Yep. Old man fell in the lake off that dock over there one time.
Come on,
I
man.
swear, 70 years old.
Oh,
Fell in the
come
lake,
on,
Fried
man.
his hearing aids.
No.
Swear.
Was he okay though?
He was fine.
What time of year was that?
June. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that was. Yeah. So that would be a good one.
Oh, so let's circle back. So, being as you played baseball,
Yeah.
you played golf, you obviously fished, but you gave up 2 of the 3. What made fishing stand out differently than those 2 other sports?
Well, one is it. I don't know. Some of those things you just naturally love more than the other. But what I loved about fishing was there's one field in baseball. Fishing, there's thousands of lakes across the country. You go to thousands of different playing fields, and every one of them is different. There's no 2 that are the same. No matter if it looks the same from the bank, water's the same depth and clarity, no 2 are the same. So there's a million variables when it comes to fishing. There's all kinds of different tools that you can use, and just so many variables that it really intrigued me, and just the fact that you can compete in terms of, and there's so many other cool things. I mean, let's not lie. There's driving a bass boat 70 miles an hour down the lake in the morning and blast off is a lot cooler than walking out of a dugout. So that was
Alright.
that's what strung me into it. There's so many awesome things about fishing that I've always loved. I've always been into the outdoors and love baseball, love playing golf, but fishing just had that deal where it just brought out a certain competitive nature in me to where I just loved competing, and whenever I wasn't competing, I made it a competition of myself to get better. Always getting better. You know, it's always a competition, whether it's against you or whether it's against the tournament field. It's always a competition. So that's what I loved about fishing.
Nice, man.
Yeah. So that was what changed it for me. Baseball, I still enjoy watching it, but I don't know. I could sit down and watch Bassmaster all day long, and after about one baseball game, I'm pretty done.
I feel you. I feel you.
Yeah, I'm pretty done.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Now, being as you're 18 years old, right? When were you born? 2003?
2002.
2002.
Yep.
So I'm trying to think back here. You were born when print was still pretty big in fishing, like magazines,
Yeah.
books.
Mhm.
DVDs were kind of coming through. TV was still very prominent.
Yeah.
Not the case so much now that we're in 2021,
Yeah.
right? It's a lot of social media,
Exactly.
Instagram, to a degree Facebook, to a degree even Twitter, even Snapchat and TikTok.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Do you think fishing is better off now, the way people consume fishing content? Or do you think maybe it could have been different or better prior to all the social media?
I think it's grown to be more than fishing now. Used to, I think it was just just fishing. That's all you had to do. And people loved bass fishing to catch fish. Now, still, there's so many variables, but a lot of times people will click on a YouTube video to watch guys drive to tournaments or watch guys sit around and talk at the house in the evening. They don't care about, it's all great, but I'm just saying there's so many factors when it comes to the social media world, and it's all cool. It's all great. A lot of people make it big through that, and I think the fishing industry has grown due to that stuff because it's opened it up to a younger audience. One, that's what I think is great about it, and it opens up a lot of opportunities for people to get into fishing because the younger generation is so savvy when it comes to YouTube, and they find that interesting, and they can watch a lot of people on there, and even if guys that aren't fishing the big tournament trails, the guys that weren't fishing tournament trails, such as the Guggen squad or people that go around and fish ponds and stuff like that all the time, guys never got access to watch those people fish, and a lot of, especially younger kids nowadays, are fascinated by that, and that's how they actually get into fishing, is watching guys that they can relate to, because a 10-year-old kid's not going to go hook to the boat and drive to the lake, but he can walk down to the pond and go fish. It's all about relatability, and I think now we've got so much for younger people to relate to that it grows the sport so fast. I think it's great. I do.
Nice. That's a great take on it.
Yeah. So that's my 2 cents. I don't find anything negative about it. I find that everybody is in it for a good thing in fishing. Everybody's trying to grow the sport and are passionate about others getting into the sport, and I find a lot of people with that same mindset.
Yeah, fishing is a pretty unique demographic of people, and for the most part, it's usually filled with a lot of positivity.
Yep, it is.
Like, it's cool. I can sit down and have a fishing conversation with the most random person.
Yeah.
That otherwise I would be like, oh, dude, what am I going to sit there and talk to that person about?
Yeah.
You bring up fish, and it's like, oh, crap, we just both light up. And
Bonded.
Stories.
Absolutely. Yeah. Brandon Polnick had that series that was with Daisuke Aoki that literally just won the Open.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah.
That
and
style
it
boat.
was fishing is our language. That's so true. That I read that title on that video, and that made so much sense.
For sure.
It made so much sense.
Yeah, I've got to see that firsthand as I started traveling internationally the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID.
Yeah.
And it's nuts seeing guys that literally speak very little or no English.
Yeah.
And be able to vibe with them.
Yeah.
Over the fishing.
I know it. That's so
it's
cool.
so cool.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
And those guys, those international anglers have dominated some local trail or the opens the last few years. There's never international anglers that aren't in the top 10.
Wow.
It's unbelievable. It really is. And just to watch them fish, it's completely different. Their attention to detail is so precise.
Yep.
And they don't go through the motions on anything. You can, it's so easy whenever you're fishing a jig, for example, to just drag it across the bottom. And you watch those guys, they're always shaking it, watching their line. Everything's perfect. And I think that makes a huge difference. Just attention to detail and paying attention to everything. Like you said, all your senses coming together. It's really important. It gets overlooked a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now tell me about Becky. What is this term that I've seen on some of your social?
It was kind of it was a hashtag that went around last year and a half. There was a friend of mine that actually had a girl that he knew about, and her name was indeed Becky.
Okay.
Yeah, and she was a bit on the larger side. Not just I don't mean to dissing nobody, but she was on the larger side, and so he admitted to going on a date with this girl, and we always, of course, we aggravated him about it and everything like that. It was kind of bad on us, but we did give him a hard time. But that's what we called big bass.
Okay.
Becky. Yeah. So whenever we would hook one, you set the hook and say, "Gosh, it's a giant," and you'd say, "Uh-oh, here's Becky." You set the hook and say, "Hey, it's Becky. We got Becky on the line." Yeah. So you'd hashtag Becky. There's so many things that build off of it, but I don't know. Hopefully it won't blow up. But we had to kind of chill on Becky for a little bit. But yeah, that was a thing for sure, and it livened up our local fishing, especially the younger guys that got it and knew what the story was.
Oh,
that was
man.
hilarious. we would yell at each other across the lake. Hey, you call him Becky's? Has Becky showed up to the party yet? You know, there's so many things you could bring out of it. It's creative. It really was.
Oh,
No hard feelings to Becky, but I mean, it was funny, man. Some things are just funny. Gosh. Yeah, that was classic.
There's the Becky story. You're welcome.
The Becky story. Yeah. That stays between us.
Yeah. That doesn't leave this table or the shores of Lake Chateau.
That stays in this triangle right here.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Oh, man. That's fun. That is hilarious, dude.
That's great. You got a little bit of downtime because you're only fishing the Southern Division.
Yeah, right.
Opens, right?
Yep.
So I don't believe our third event is until September.
September on
Lake Norman.
Yep.
Gotcha. Is that North Carolina?
Yep, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, Charlotte. I think it's around Charlotte. It's a pretty big lake, from what I understand. I think it's a power plant lake.
Oh,
too.
okay.
Yeah, a lot of spotted bass, lots of pole docks, from what I understand. Like wooden post pole docks. Have those cross beams. From what I understand, there's a ledge that comes off some of those docks, actually, from what I've heard from other people.
Okay.
And before I spill too much of the beans, that's just what I get carried away talking about. It's sort of what I've heard from so many people. There's a ledge that comes off those docks, and if you can find where the ledge in front of those docks meets a dock that has like brush on it, apparently that's a
That's
deal.
the juice,
That's
huh?
the juice. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I've heard. That's what I've heard. We're gonna find out.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
you've never been there?
I haven't been. I
Okay.
have a bunch of people that fish out there that I know of, and they all seem to say it's a really awesome lake. So we'll see what's up whenever we get there in September. Can
Cool.
usually be tough in September, but we'll have to make the best of it.
Totally.
Somebody's gonna win it. Might as well be us.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. I like it.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna be doing in between now and then?
So I'm actually in college right now, and it's gonna let out in about 2 weeks. I got final exams coming up and all that stuff. But I usually guide all throughout the summer. I stay booked up pretty heavy. Last summer I did, and then this summer I look for it to be even better, even more busy. So
Cool.
that's what I do is just guide throughout the summer on Lake Chateau, and we stay really busy with that and catch a lot of bass. So fish
Awesome.
tournaments around here. Fishing college tournaments. I actually have a college tournament in June on Saginaw Bay up on Lake Huron.
Right,
so we're gonna see if we can do a little smallmouth fishing.
Yeah.
Never been to a Great Lake, so that's going to be a learning curve.
That's cool.
But yeah, it should be a fun trip. Weather will be nice. It won't be 90 degrees like it will be down here. So
yeah.
nice for sure.
Yeah, we've got some video series, Big Smallmouth Dreams on the Big Bass Streams channel, fishing Saginaw Bay.
Really,
Yeah, multiple low to mid 20-pound limits, so smallies.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
catching 'em on
crazy.
swim baits, glide baits, finesse, of course.
Yeah.
It can be a special fishery, so
Yeah.
that should be an exciting tournament.
Absolutely. Hopefully they'll be on the bed. That's what I'm thinking. There might be some spawning fish going on. Have to get one of those floggers, and I don't know. We're gonna order a flogger and make one. We might make one redneck style. I don't know. We may go down there to the hardware store and make one. It'd be a lot cheaper, I believe. So
Oh,
we can figure that out. We got plenty
Absolutely.
of time. But yeah.
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 Cool, man. At the end of it all, when it's all said and done, and the Caz Anderson book is written, like, how do you want people to remember you? Like, in terms of how you impacted fishing.
Really enjoy teaching other people. I feel like guiding has been a great deal for me just because I enjoy helping other people and helping other people learn how to fish. And like you said, we were talking about this before the show, if we grow as one, we get there a lot faster at the end goal. So that's what I'm all about, and if I could have people remember me by one thing in fishing, it would be I got a lot of people into fishing and helped a lot of people learn as they go and got people passionate about it.
That's dope.
Yeah,
That's super dope, man. That's good to hear.
Yep. So that's what we're working towards. If you guys want to book a trip,
So yeah, speaking of which, what is the best way for somebody to get a hold of you?
my phone number is 828-644-4392. You guys feel free to call me. My email is linked on the website. Social media is linked on there as well. So if you guys want to give me a follow on Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff, that'd be great.
Shout out to all the Beckys.
That's right. Yeah. Becky's are welcome on the boat. They are.
Oh man,
Yep.
nice. So you got a nice page on Instagram going. You got
Yeah.
anything on the tube?
Nothing on the tube yet. That's what we're gonna
Okay.
try and get into. I think we could make some interesting content.
For
Start
sure.
filming some guide trips here and
Yeah.
there. Film some tournament vlogs, things like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of. I travel around and fish a lot, and being a college fishing student, there's a whole bunch of stuff to make really entertaining stuff out of. So I feel like I'm missing out not doing it so far, but we got a couple years of college left and a lot of time on our hands, so we're going to try to build an awesome channel.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing more of it, man.
Absolutely, man. Maybe a collab between us two here before long and go catch some fish.
He's trying to talk me into launching the Dream Machine after we're done with this podcast. But what you guys don't understand, because it looks beautiful and sunny, is that like there's another freak cold front that came through here just in time for me to show up.
There he is.
Riley and I almost froze to death last night until we figured out how to fix the heater. This wind that is giving us audio issues probably is cold and biting, but he says we might be able to catch some jerkbait spots.
I believe we should be able to. Spotted bass like the cold. They're not sissies. They love the cold. It's all right. They're used to it.
So yeah, maybe we'll go out there and shoot a video for you guys. Maybe. Plenty of daylight left. Is there anything else you want to share with these guys, man?
Not a whole lot. If you guys would like to give me a follow on Instagram, that'd really be great. You can keep up with me as we go along. Feel free to book a guide trip with me this summer. I got a lot of dates open so far. They're filling up fast. So if you guys would like to come catch some big spotted bass, this is one of the greatest lakes in the country to catch spotted bass on, especially on the East Coast. So it'd be awesome fishing to start biting some topwater soon, eating blueback herring. It's some of the most fun fishing you'll ever do in your life. So give me a call and come fishing. I'd love to take you.
Definitely take him up on that offer, guys. Kaz got a great energy to him. I'm a fan. Running into him on these travels has been a pleasant surprise, man.
Absolutely.
So keep it up. Yeah. Looking forward to watching you weigh in right below me.
Yeah.
In the next,
hope you finish second. Hope you finish second.
I'm rooting for you, but just, one spot less.
That's right. Exactly.
That's
what it should be, I guess.
Alright, guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in. It's been another fun BBD podcast. Make sure you guys go back and check out all the other ones. My man Josh Douglas finished third in that Douglas Open. We did a dope podcast with him and his wife Bree back at Carl Jacobson's wedding. So make sure you guys tune into that. And until then, we'll catch you guys on the next one.
See y'all.
Cool.
You a keyboard pirate, my man, that's hella my track. Itch to make you catch fish, get him in the net quick, cast for another stick. That real deal, raw uncut, still chasing PBs, cause it's never enough. My track. Itch to make you catch fish, get him in the net quick, cast for another stick. That real deal, raw uncut, still chasing PBs, cause it's never enough.
Medium light, graphite for the subtlest bites. Some bright blue skies, not a cloud in sight. It's dynamite when I drop, and the school ignites, pinning them down on the